Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Rise and Grind 2023. This event was an A+ tier and you had a couple invaders coming down to the US, making it a really interesting top 8, especially for our top 16 finishers. You're going to have Goblin, Pharaoh, Peanut, and Riddles in 13th, Jazzo, Karama, Dabuz, and Base Mage in 9th. In 7th place, you're going to have Shattuck and Geist, 5th place, Tarek and Anathema, 4th place, Vudes, 3rd place, Lima, 2nd place, Futani, and winning the entire thing was Miya. So we gotta talk about some of the underperformances, and let's kick it off with the main one of the weekend, which is going to be MKLeo falling at 17th place. Now, he lost really early on in the pool's phase to Skinny the Pooh in a 3-0 fashion. Also, I should mention that the set between MKLeo and Skinny the Pooh was off stream, which is why I'm not playing it right now, but someone did manage to record it on their phone, and a link will be down below if you want to go watch that. For anyone that doesn't know Skinny the Pooh, he's a really talented Mario player that really doesn't get to travel a bunch. We saw him a little bit at Rewired Fest where he was able to take a game off Spargo and end up getting 9th place. To 3-0 Leo is a massive statement. I really hope that we do get to see more of him, but that's 2 Mario players now that Leo has lost to within the past month that he probably shouldn't have lost to, so I think saying he has a bit of a Mario problem is definitely fair, and I don't really know what the solution is for Leo. I think that's going to be something that he has to work on because it's not like his characters get super hard countered by Mario. I don't think Joker Mario is particularly amazing, even though it's probably more of an even matchup, and he did end up playing that entirely versus Skinny the Pooh, but he's used Byleth in the past, and the Byleth hasn't always worked. I think Marth is a really interesting choice for MKLeo, and let's talk about the Marth right now, because he did make a decent losers run, 3-0ing Stroder, Z, and Nico before falling to Riddles, which is kind of just unlucky that you get Riddles for 17th place, but he brought out the Marth versus Riddles, and it didn't work this time around, but it did go to Game 5, and he was able to take 2 games with the Marth, and I really think that MKLeo should pick up Lucina. I know we've had the discussion 40 times, Leo should play this character, he should play this character, he should play this character, but I genuinely think his Marth is really, really good, but I just have zero faith in Marth, and I think Lucina is an incredibly broken character. Now, I will say, if any player in the world is going to play Marth over Lucina, it would be MKLeo because his spacing is incredible, but I would like to see him at least try Lucina because I think he could do some serious work with it. So 17th place for Leo. This is going to be his worst placement in the post-quarantine season, and it is a little bit unlucky that he runs into Riddles in the loser side of the bracket, so it's not like it's the end of the world, but that loss to Skinny the Pooh is definitely going to hurt. Though that's a player that I think could continue rising the rankings if he just goes to more stuff, because he beat MKLeo. I mean, there's not really a bunch of analysis you got to say there. Some other underperformances, you're going to have Riddles falling at 13th place. He did get that really nice win on MKLeo, as well as Chunky Kong in the winner side, but he ends up falling to Base Mage Game 5, and then he ends up falling to Jazzo. And Jazzo destroyed Riddles, by the way. Like, huge prop to Jazzo. That was one of the most one-sided matches I have ever seen, and it was versus both the Terry and the Kazuya. Something to note is that Riddles was playing a majority of Terry at this event, and I thought his Terry actually looked really good, especially in the winner side. It was a little bit more shaky in the loser side, but it's been a while since we've seen him competing, so not the end of the world. Even though he still ends up getting 13th place, he picked up an MKLeo win. It's a decent tournament. And I've already mentioned 2 top 8 teeth that didn't get top 8, so I might as well mention the other ones in Karama and Dabuz. Now, Dabuz ends up losing to Lima in the winner side and Anathema in the loser side, and we'll talk about those runs when we actually get into the top 8, but Dabuz, it's a little bit of an underperformance from him. We haven't seen him place this low since Battle of BC, where he ended up getting 13th place, and since then, he's been top 8ing literally every single event that he's gone to, so not an amazing placement. And the losses to Anathema and Lima definitely aren't bad, but considering that Dabuz is likely going to be reaching for top 10 by the end of the season, those are going to be losses that hurt you a little bit, so kind of breaks his consistency streak there, but also it's not the end of the world. It's like Anathema and Lima aren't going to be unranked. Those are both players that are probably going to be in the top 50, especially Lima. And then for Karama, he ends up losing to Miya. You can't feel too bad about that one at all. That's one of the best losses you can have. And also Mario Game Watch is just a really tough matchup in my opinion. And then he ends up falling to Shattuck in the loser side. Now, I was pretty surprised by this considering that Karama does have a core in secondary, but core and Mario, not an amazing matchup for Mario. And also Shattuck was just on fire at this event. And again, we'll get into that when we're talking about the top 8. But 9th place for both Karama and Dabuz. It's not great placements and they're not amazing losses, but it's not like they're terrible losses and terrible placements. It's just okay. Editing through vlog here, Dabuz actually got 17th place at Gummel, so that was the last time he missed a top 8. Just thought I should correct that. And there's a couple people that I do want to mention before moving on to the top 8. The first one is going to be Goblin. They were upset fairly early on by Skeleton, but ended up making a really nice losers run, beating Send, Lancelot, Wrath, and Luis before falling to Geist for 13th place in a Game 5 set, I may add. And Goblin's a player that's always had an extremely high ceiling, but they're just not always able to match it, so it's always nice to see them playing well, and I really do hope that we get to see more Goblin in these top 8 soon, because they're just a really entertaining player to watch. You're going to have Pharaoh, who also ended up finishing 13th place with an upset over Chase, and ended up playing Skeleton in the winner's side, won that 3-0, then took Miya to Game 5, really competitive set there, didn't end up winning it though, went to the loser's side where he was able to beat Ludo before falling to Anathema, so another Yoshi player having success. We're definitely seeing Yoshi have a lot more results as of late. Like, Yoshidora is definitely still the pinnacle of the character, but the average play with Yoshi is getting higher and higher. You're also going to have Peanut finishing at 13th place at a major with solo Little Mac, which is absolutely crazy to me. He's able to get wins over Vibe and Shu, falling to Shattuck in the loser side of the bracket and Lima in the winner side. Peanut, the results that this guy gets with Little Mac are unreal. He's definitely the best Little Mac in the world. I mean, the stuff that he's doing with this character, he makes Little Mac look like actually good. He gives him aerial combos. It is ludicrous what he is able to do, so shouts to Peanut for the insane run. Also, I just forgot to mention this, but big ups to Base Mage for getting wins on Riddles and Jackal, as well as taking Gluttony and Geist to Game 5. Extremely close to getting into the top 8, and Chunky Kong was also able to get a win over Jackal, so big ups to those players. So let's get into the top 8. Our 7th place finishers are going to be Geist and Shattuck. Starting off with Geist, he was able to get wins on Skinny the Pooh, so he did benefit from that MKLeo upset, then ended up falling to Tarek in a Game 5 set, beat MK Big Boss, Goblin, and Base Mage, both Goblin and Base Mage sets going to Game 5, so he was able to close both of those out. And Geist is one of the best Bayo players in America. There's a lot of really strong Bayos just across the entire world, but there's so many of them in America, and I would definitely have them in the top 3 Bayos at least. Like, that's just lowballing it because I'm sure I'm forgetting some people. Like Lima number 1, then I'd have Geist up there. You're gonna have Death Spade up there. Frog's really good. There's just so many incredible Bayo players. And Geist, this is his first ever top 8, the first of many to come in my opinion, because he is an extremely talented player, and his run was really cool to watch. Shattuck as well ends up beating Wrath in the winner's side, so decent upset right there. I think actually Korn does pretty decent into Sonic, so maybe that's something to think about in the future. Ends up losing to the Buzz, then beats Ned, Peanut, and Karam to be able to get into top 8. And Shattuck, I mean, ever since SmashCon, which granted was like his last major event, but that's 2 majors in a row where he has looked incredibly good. 9th at SmashCon, 7th place at this event. It seems like Shattuck has really regained his form because he did have a little bit of a drop-off towards the start of the season, but he has been back to his A game as of late and has just looked super impressive. In 5th place, you're going to have Anathema and Tarek, starting off with Anathema, who had a really difficult bracket. It was initially pretty good for him. He was able to dodge Deathbait because he was able to get a really nice upset there, so Anathema was able to win that one 3-0. Then ends up falling to Karama, which is a really tough matchup for Rob. Still was able to take a game. Then in the loser side of the bracket, was able to beat Chunky Kong, Pharaoh, and DeBuzz to be able to get into the top 8. The DeBuzz win is especially impressive just because DeBuzz, I think, is really good versus Rob, and he has a bunch of reps versus Zomba, but Anathema was still able to take it. And his most impressive win of the tournament, at least in my opinion, is going to be versus Geist in top 8. He was able to win that set in Raw Bayonetta, which is an incredibly difficult matchup, but people were saying that Anathema was pretty good at it, and I gotta agree. His edge guarding was incredible, his positioning was just really good. He's just clearly very aware of what to do in that matchup, so big shouts to Anathema for that one. That's another Rising Grind where he does well. I mean, it's just his event, what can I say? Tarek also had a really nice run with wins on Shu and Geist before falling to Mutace in the winner's side. I thought their set was going to be really close because that SmashCon was really close, and Tarek made a massive comeback, but definitely not this time around. Mutace definitely had that one under lock, but that didn't deter Tarek because in the loser side, he was able to beat Jazzo to get into top 8. Once in the top 8, he was able to beat Shattuck, and then just had the misfortune of running into Gluttony, who he does not have a great historical record against. But Tarek is probably the player out of everyone from Europe that I've been the most impressed by this year. I feel like he has gotten so much better. Like, maybe Gluttony's gotten a little bit better, but also Gluttony was top 10 and then went from being top 10 to like top 5, so not that big of a deal. But Tarek, I have seen massive improvements in his play. I think he's gotten way better since he's just been using pretty much solo Greninja, and I don't really know what to think of Greninja. I don't think super highly of the character right now just because he's more of a theory character to me, but if Tarek is able to continue placing like this, which I think he will be able to do, maybe Greninja will go up a couple spots on the tier list. In 4th place, you're going to have Mutace, 3rd place, Lima. Now, Mutace was able to pick up wins on MFA, Luis, and Tarek, as well as Anathema, only dropping sets to Miya and Gluttony, which are honestly not super bad losses. I mean, They're both top 5 in the world right now, as well as Game Watch being a really tough match for Peach, and Gluttony being historically very good versus Mutace, even though Mutace did take that set at Genesis every other time it has gone Gluttony's way, so nothing super crazy there, and this is a pretty solid run from Mutace. It's not anything exceptional, but considering the amount of people that underperformed at this event, I think this is really important for Mutace because he's historically been a very inconsistent player, but recently, especially at the major level, I feel like he's been incredible since the Japan trip. His worst placement at a major is going to be 17th place at SmashCon, so he's been on a really hot streak as of late, and he keeps it up with this tournament. You're going to have Lima in 3rd place as well. In my opinion, the run of the tournament, he was able to pick up wins on MK Big Boss, Peanut, and DeBuzz to be able to get into the top 8. Once in the top 8, he was able to 3-0 Gluttony in their first set, as well as having an extremely competitive set with Miya taking it to Game 5. As I mentioned earlier, only 2 people are able to take Miya to Game 5, which are going to be Pharaoh and Lima, and he was so BM in that set versus Miya. It was actually so funny. He was smiling, he was laughing, he was looking at the crowd, and really, really enjoyed that energy from Lima. And to be honest, I think that Lima is the best Bayonetta player in the world. Now, I still think that Bloom is better than Lima, but I just think that's because Bloom is a better player. It's kind of like how Corrin is technically owned by MKLeo. Like if MKLeo played Corrin, he would be the best Corrin in the world. But it's not because his Corrin's good, it's because he's good. That's how I feel about Bloom with Bayonetta, but Lima's Bayo is so incredible. His conversions are amazing. His playstyle really suits the character. He's just so patient, and it allows him to get so many opportunities where he just does a ton of damage. And if we can keep seeing this from him, which I think we will be able to, Lima's a player that I could easily see being ranked top 20. And our grand finalists are exactly who you expected to be the 2nd and 1st seed in Gluttony and Miya. Gluto picking up wins on Ludo, Jazzo, and Base Mage to be able to get into the top 8. Once in the top 8, he does drop 3-0 to Lima, but ends up 3-0ing Tarek, Mutace, and Lima in the run back before making it to Miya, where he does eventually fall, but fairly understandable. That's a really tough matchup for Wario, and even though Gluttony did win it on their first encounter, that was probably just because Miya had never seen a player of Gluttony's caliber, especially on the Wario, because his Wario is by far the best, and I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Gluttony just because he's been the highlight of a lot of our recent recaps because he's been farming, the bike tech's really good. That's all I got to say. Gluttony is top 5 in the world right now, and he's going to continue rising the rankings, in my opinion. I could see him being the best player in the world, but he's going to have to do a lot of hard work, and one of those challenges that he's going to have to face is Miya, another player I could see being the best in the world at some point. He was able to pick up wins on Double D, Pharaoh, Kurama to be able to get into the top 8. Once in the top 8, he beat Mutace, Lima, and Gluttony. Did not drop a set. Now, Lima, or rather Miya, was the heavy favorite coming into this event, and the only opponent that I thought really could take him out would have been MKLeo or DeBuzz if DeBuzz didn't fall early on, but Leo got upset. DeBuzz didn't make it into the top 8, and even though Miya had to take out a bunch of really strong players at this event, he didn't have to take out anyone that I feel like specifically countered him, and it feels like every single time Miya wins an event in NA, that's kind of how it goes down. I mean, the exact same thing happened in Apex. Now, don't get me wrong, this event is still much more impressive in Apex because he was able to beat a top 5 player in Gluttony, multiple top 20 players in Mutace and Kurama, and he just continues his streak of being one of the best players in the world. That's 2 events in a row now for Miya. He's also, I believe, tied with acola for the most majors won this year, which is fairly insane. So if Miya is able to keep this up, I do genuinely believe that he could be the #1 player in the world, and I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The support has been absolutely unreal as of late. If there's a player I left out, something I got wrong, or if you just want to say hi, leave a comment down below. Be sure to sub, all that yada yada, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!